Hey everyone. Well, it's Truth Tuesday. My name is Victoria Huff. I'm the founder of The Happy Executive, and we help introverted professionals to be seen, get heard, and earn more revenue and recognition. I'm delighted to be here for another Truth Tuesday because I think that really taking some time to reflect and observe what actions you are taking to get to the next level is very valuable. And what I have learned is that some of our biggest truths, our biggest realizations come from some not so pleasant experiences or maybe some mistakes that we have made along the way. And that is not to dwell on these mistakes or these lessons, but if we're able to recognize them and learn from them, and when I say learn from them, I I mean really getting super clear on what you will do to not repeat that mistake. Because a lot of times our mistakes are repeated. And that's why, because it's a pattern, they're patterns, right? So, this is something that we can say could be true in our lives, in our businesses. Sometimes a lot of things cross over, like, for instance, related to money. If we've had some money consciousness beliefs that have happened in our life, then chances are they may pop up in our business. So it's super important that we take time to really like step aside from our business and be able to look at it with an objective opinion. Kind of like when I started doing this, it's kind of like pretending that that's not my business. If it was someone else's business, what would you say if they were asking you for your opinion? What would you say? How would you approach it? Because in a lot of cases, we may be too close to the situation. If we're looking to upload and upload our knowledge, upload our presence, and really get to the next level, like let's say we want to hit 3 million. Doesn't matter really if you want to hit 3 million or you want to hit 30 million, depending on what phase you are in the business. You need to be able to take a step aside and look at things objectively. Now, it certainly helps if you have a mentor. But even if you don't have a mentor at this time, you need to step aside and look at things objectively. Just ask yourself those questions, like I was saying, like, what would I say if it was someone else's business and that CEO, that founder was asking me for my insights? What would I say? Because, like I said, a lot of times we are too close to the situation. Perhaps, we feel personally indebted to this situation. Perhaps some of our identity is, related, which is obviously not a good thing to do, but it's difficult sometimes to not have our identity related to that. When I worked in corporate with AT&T, my identity was AT&T. Now, I didn't know better at the time, because I thought I was doing the great thing, like I lived and I breathed AT&T, and I was so proud to be an employee of AT&T. And believe me, that was a great opportunity for me to work in corporate. And I'm very grateful. And AT&T believed in their people. AT&T believed in continuing education. I was able to get a lot of graduate level work at Wharton School of Business, at George Washington University, and that was paid for by the company. I mean, I always say this, but I really don't know that I would be where I am today, which I'm still growing and I'm still learning, but I don't know that I would have, gotten this far had I not had that foundation with AT&T. So I am very, very grateful. But my identity was AT&T. And when it was time for me to lose my job, when that position was eliminated, they were changing everything around. They were basically, you know, it was a decision that was made. They needed to get all of the high earners out so they could bring in a new wave of employees that were making 150, 200K less than what we were being paid. It was just time. Some of the legacy services that I was tied to, they weren't bringing in the revenue anymore. I was also working, I had a dual role, and I was working in the legacy services, but then I was also one of two people appointed to launch their web services. So, you know, I could see it when I stepped outside that it made sense. It made sense for them to eliminate all of our positions and to be able to hire in at a lower rate, kind of like starting over. So they were hiring new people in that didn't have a significant amount of sales experience, not more than a year or two. And then, they were saving, like I said, significant money because all of the ones that left, I mean, we were making, 150 to 250 uh, a year. So they were hiring in as a base salary 50K, and then the bonuses, the commission structure was just about 200. So that's a significant savings. Now, some of the people that left, around me, they were able to take early retirement, but I wasn't old enough to take early retirement. So, my position got eliminated. But that's not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is, stepping aside and, checking yourself, because, it is not a good idea to have that mindset that I did, my personal identity. And I get it. Like, that was corporate. And, if you're a founder or a CEO and you founded or co-founded your company, I totally understand why you have a personal stake in it. But I would encourage you to try to do your best, take a step aside, and really look at things objectively and really focus on how you can start. If you do feel like you have your personal identity tied to it, how can you separate that? Because, when a devastating event happens, like happened to me, gosh, I was so confused because, my identity was tied to that. And then I felt so self deflated, like a failure. So I don't want you to feel like that. So really get clear on, where are you when it comes to what you wanted to accomplish this year? Where's the gap? What is needed to fill that gap so that you can meet your objectives, your KPIs, your goals? And I know everyone has different philosophies. Some people even say don't set goals. Well, personally, I believe that if we don't have goals, if we don't have the KPIs, if we don't have the objectives, then I feel we're just kind of leaving it up to chance. Or worse yet, we're working and accomplishing other people's goals, other people's objectives, other people's KPIs. So you need to make a choice, either you embrace and embody the goal setting or you don't. It's really That's really it, right? You decide. And I'm not here to tell you that you should set goals, that you should set objectives, but I'm here to just say that it's worked for me. And it's worked for so many of my clients that have gotten super clear on, what do they want to do, when, and how are they going to do it. It doesn't have to be a complicated process. But what I find after conducting almost 5,000 coaching sessions and over 800 sales role plays since 2014 is that a lot of people get stuck in the thinking and not doing. So, in order to help alleviate this, I am going to be focusing on conducting some live workshops and some live whiteboard sessions so that anyone that attends can actually roll up your sleeves and actually start doing some of the work, as opposed to just looking at a slideshow. Because if it's one thing that I've learned is that there's a lot of information out there. And if you wanted to, you could sign up to attend an event during revenue producing hours every single day of the week, whether you're an online business or you're e-commerce, like selling products, or you're a brick and mortar. I'm quite sure that you could sign up, you could attend events every single day of the week. However, even if you learn something from them, your business is not going to change unless you implement those lessons, those strategies. So I'm going to be conducting, like I said, some different type of workshops, at least from what you've seen. I've done a lot of live events, of course, but I'm really focused on getting people to roll up your sleeves and do some work. Even if you just learn one thing, even if you just take one thing out of it, if you can implement that, that's a win. And I've just seen way too many years go by where people end up getting stuck in that circle of thinking about it. They're going to check into it. And then eventually they just run out of time because, they haven't been producing enough revenue. They've been running their business as a hobby as opposed to an actual revenue producing entity. So I invite you, if you're a CEO or a founder or a producer, as far as, being responsible for KPIs, maybe your business development, maybe your sales, I invite you to take a step aside and really look at the situation, see, where are you? Maybe you're exceeding the goals and the KPIs. That's awesome. And I give you double thumbs up for that. However, what can you do to make sure that you're going to still, double, triple those numbers throughout the rest of the year? So, this isn't time, being that it's the beginning of June, it's not time for any of us to rest on our laurels because anything can happen. There are always these changing trends. Our world is ever changing. So, the best thing that we can do is make sure that we're keeping our finger on the trends. We're looking, we're evaluating, but we need to make sure that we're consistently taking action. That doesn't mean you're changing things every day because that does not usually lead to optimal outcomes. However, evaluating and then making a decision on what you're going to do next. It's not about ever change, it's not about keep, switching, because you do have to allow some time to see, what's working, what isn't. But it's super important that you are taking action. And a simple thing that I would challenge you, if you're not already doing this, is make sure that you are working on your revenue production 1 to 2 hours a day. No matter what position you're in, unless you have a full powerhouse of sales teams. Maybe then you don't want to have personal responsibility for that. But I would say, why not? Even if you are a CEO and founder, even if you did an hour or two of, revenue producing activities, I think that would be a great example of a leader, especially when your team is doing it. Because it is, at the end of the day, it is about making sure that the business is thriving, not just existing. And the more revenue that you're able to achieve, that just goes by, the more donations that your company can make, the more investment that your company can make in new technologies or existing ones that maybe you weren't able to afford before, or new team members. So really take a look, take a step aside, really pretend you're an observer, and look, where are you? Where is your business? Where is it at this time on June 4th, 2024? And where do you want it to go before the end of next quarter? I mean, January, February, March, right? It's the first quarter. April, May, June. So we're wrapping up the second quarter. Where do you want it to be at the end of this month? And then, of course, projecting out, I'm sure hopefully you've already done, third and fourth quarter plans. You probably have an overall business plan for 2024. But get super clear on, what are those numbers and how are you faring to get to those numbers? The one thing I didn't agree with when I was with AT&T in the legacy services, and granted, our market was shrinking because we had legacy services. We had, like really some archaic. At that time, it was fax, and it was, fax was kind of going, decreasing usage. We had some telegraph stuff and different things like that. But anyways, really get super clear on where you are, where you want to be, and share in the comments. Okay. Remember, our greatest truths come from some not so pleasant experiences, and we can learn from them, and we can learn from each other. So please share your thoughts, share your truths,